Virgin tried to quit after one night with the Ruthless Billionaire CEO. What he did next changed everything. The clock on Isabel Ross's laptop read 5:47 in the morning. Her hands were shaking. The resignation letter on her screen had 3 sentences, and none of them were right. She'd rewritten the opening line 6 times, deleted it 7, and now she was hiding behind a decorative palm tree in the lobby of Vail Industries like a criminal. Her dress had a coffee stain. Her hair was falling out of its bun. There was a keyboard imprint on her forehead from falling asleep at her desk an hour ago, trying to find the words to explain why she needed to quit the best job she'd ever had. But how do you tell your boss you're resigning because you slept with him 2 nights ago and it changed everything? The elevator chimed. Isabel's breath stopped. Those shoes. She knew those shoes. Italian leather, $1,500. The kind of footsteps that echoed through boardrooms and made junior executives sweat. Only one person arrived at the office before 6 in the morning. Dominic Vail, the man whose penthouse she'd fled from at dawn. The man who touched her like she was something precious. The man whose voice still echoed in her head, saying her name over and over like a prayer. She pressed herself against the planter, clutching her laptop to her chest, feeling absolutely insane but too far gone to care. The footsteps stopped. Then his voice cut through the silence, smooth and British and devastatingly calm. "Miss Ross?" Isabel closed her eyes. Of all the ways this morning could have gone, this was the worst. "I can see your laptop screen reflecting in the windows." She didn't move. Maybe if she stayed perfectly still, reality would adjust itself. Maybe she'd wake up in her bed with her judgmental cat and realize the last 48 hours were just a very detailed, very inappropriate dream. And unless you've developed a sudden fascination with commercial horticulture, his voice came closer, softer, almost amused. "I believe you're hiding from me." Isabel emerged from behind the palm tree like a suspect in a lineup, slowly, reluctantly, wishing the earth would open up and swallow her whole. Dominic Vail stood 10 feet away, looking like he'd walked out of a magazine. Charcoal suit, dark hair still damp from his shower. Those gray eyes that saw too much, noticed everything, remembered every single detail, including apparently the way she'd gasped his name while he'd... "Stop. Stop thinking about that." "Mr. Vail," she said, and her voice came out like she'd swallowed glass. "I was just checking the plant." At 5:47 in the morning. Plants need consistency. Do they? He stepped closer. The same consistency that has you typing a resignation letter at dawn after avoiding my calls for 2 days? Her stomach dropped. "You've been calling me?" 17 times. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "I stopped at 17 because I thought 18 might seem desperate. I had my phone off. Because you were hiding. Because I needed space. From me, it wasn't a question. Or from what happened between us. The air between them felt too thin. Isabel could smell his cologne, the same scent that had been on her skin that morning, when she'd woken up tangled in sheets that cost more than her monthly rent. She'd left before he woke up. Grabbed a dress, called a car, fled like Cinderella. If Cinderella were a 26-year-old virgin, who just had the most intense experience of her life with her billionaire boss. "Both," she whispered. Dominic's jaw tightened. "I see." "You don't see anything." Her voice cracked. "You can't possibly understand how mortifying this is. I've worked for you for 5 years. 5 years of being professional and competent and completely invisible, and then one night, one stupid gala and too much champagne in a thunderstorm, and I just... sober." "What?" "We were both sober, Isabel." He said her name like he was tasting it. Every single second of those 6 hours, we were completely sober. Heat flooded her face. "Don't say 6 hours." "Why not?" "It's the truth." "Because it makes it sound like I like we, that it meant something." His eyes darkened. "Didn't it?" The question hung between them like smoke. Isabel's heart was doing something violent in her chest, trying to escape or explode, she couldn't tell which. She looked down at her laptop, at the pathetic resignation letter she'd been trying to write, at the only escape route she could think of. "It was a mistake," she said quietly, "a really incredible, life-altering, earth-shattering mistake, but still a mistake. And I think the best thing for both of us is if I resign." No. The word was so flat, so final, it took her a second to process it. What do you mean, no? I mean, no, I don't accept your resignation. You can't refuse to accept someone's resignation. That's not how this works. Isabel. He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Do you really think I'm the kind of man who would sleep with you and then let you run away without a conversation? We're having a conversation. We're having you panic and me refuse to let you make a decision based on fear. I'm not afraid, she lied, and her voice shook on every syllable. Dominic reached out, his fingers brushing her jaw so gently it hurt. Then, look at me. She couldn't. If she looked at him, really looked at him, she'd remember everything. The way he'd kissed her in the rain outside his building. The way his hands had trembled when he'd undressed her. The way he'd stopped 3 times to ask if she was sure, if she wanted this, if she wanted him. The way he'd whispered, "I've wanted you for 5 years," right before he'd made her forget her own name. Isabel. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Look at me. She looked. His eyes were storm gray and serious, and there was something in them she couldn't name, something that looked almost like desperation. I'm not letting you resign, he said quietly. Not like this. Not because you're afraid of what happened between us or what it means or what people will think. If you want to leave Vail Industries, you'll do it face to face, with a real reason, after we've talked about this like adults. We are talking. No. You're running, and I'm chasing. That's not a conversation. His hand dropped from her face, but he didn't step back. Come to breakfast with me. What? Breakfast? Food. Coffee. A neutral location where we can discuss this without you hiding behind office furniture. I don't want breakfast. I don't recall offering you a choice. He pulled her laptop from her hands, snapped it shut with one smooth motion. There's a car waiting outside. You can't just kidnap me. I'm not kidnapping you. I'm taking my executive assistant to a business breakfast to discuss her sudden and completely irrational desire to throw away a career she's built over 5 years. His lips curved, not quite a smile. Unless you'd prefer to wait here until the rest of the staff arrives at 8 and have this conversation in front of everyone? Isabel imagined that scenario. The entire executive floor, watching her try to explain why she was resigning without mentioning that she'd lost her virginity to the CEO 2 nights ago on his kitchen counter, his bedroom floor, and his shower. Fine, she said, breakfast. But this doesn't change anything. Of course not. But the way he looked at her suggested he knew exactly how this would end. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu, because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Le Jardin Blanc. Isabel had made reservations here for Dominic 100 times, but she'd never actually been inside. The morning light came through floor-to-ceiling windows, making everything look soft and golden and completely surreal. Dominic sat across from her, doing something to a croissant that should not have been attractive but somehow was. Every movement precise, controlled, like he approached breakfast the same way he approached hostile takeovers. You're staring, he said without looking up. I'm not. I'm mentally reviewing quarterly projections. His mouth twitched. Of course you are. Because that's exactly what normal people do over breakfast at 6 in the morning. Well, normal people don't get kidnapped by their boss. Executive assistant attempts to resign after sleeping with CEO, Dominic mused, finally looking at her. Flees via palm tree, story at 11. That's not funny. I think it's a little funny. Isabel's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and immediately wanted to throw it in the river. Harper, her roommate, best friend. The person who'd helped her pick out the dress she'd worn to the gala, the same dress that was currently crumpled on Dominic's bedroom floor, unless he'd thrown it away, which would somehow be worse. The text read, "Where are you? Did you actually resign? If you're on a plane to Portland right now, I'm releasing the karaoke footage." Who's Harper? Dominic asked, clearly reading her screen upside down. My roommate. Stop reading my phone. She threatened you with karaoke footage. I'm intrigued. It was one time. Isabel typed back quickly. Not in Portland. Situation complicated. We'll explain later, maybe. Harper's response was immediate. What, Isabel Marie Ross? You better not be with him. Your roommate knows about us. There is no us, Isabel said. There was one night, one mistake. 6 hours. Stop saying 6 hours like it means something. It does mean something. Dominic set down his coffee, leaned back, studied her with those eyes that made her feel transparent. It means I've wanted you for 5 years and finally stopped pretending I didn't. It means you wanted me too, but you're too terrified to admit it. It means we have something here that's worth more than your fear. You don't know what I want. Don't I? He tilted his head. Tell me, Isabel, when was the last time you went on a date? She blinked at the change in subject. What does that have to do with anything? Humor me. I don't know, 2 years ago maybe? 2 years. And why did it end? Because he was boring. Boring. Fine, because he wasn't you. The words came out before she could stop them, and she watched Dominic's expression shift, something fierce and satisfied crossing his face. Say that again. No. Isabel grabbed her water glass like it could save her. That came out wrong. You haven't dated anyone in 2 years because they weren't me. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. Dominic leaned forward, and the air between them turned electric. You spent 2 years comparing every man you meet to your boss. And then 2 nights ago, you finally let yourself have what you wanted, and now you're trying to run away because it was everything you were afraid it would be. Her throat felt tight. You're very sure of yourself. I'm very sure of you. His voice went soft. I know you bite your lip when you're nervous. I know you reorganize my desk when you're stressed. I know you take your coffee with cream and 1 sugar, that you stress-bake cookies for the entire floor when quarterly reports are due, that you haven't missed a single day of work in 5 years, except the day your father died. Stop. I know you read romance novels on your lunch break and hide them in your desk drawer. I know you scrunch your nose when you're trying not to laugh at my jokes. I know you bought a new dress for the gala because you wanted me to notice you. And I noticed, Isabel. I've been noticing you for 5 years. She couldn't breathe. This was too much, too honest, too exposed. I have a cat, she blurted out. Dominic blinked. What? A cat, named Heathcliff. He's extremely judgmental and costs me a fortune in vet bills, and he's probably the only relationship I'm capable of maintaining without completely self-destructing. A slow smile spread across Dominic's face. Something genuine, not his usual controlled boardroom expression. Heathcliff, Wuthering Heights. I had a Gothic literature phase. Past tense? Present continuous. I watch Pride and Prejudice when I'm stressed, and I reread Jane Eyre every year. And I probably love Mr. Darcy more than any real person, which is pathetic but true. It's not pathetic. Dominic's voice had gone impossibly gentle. It's human. Tell me more. Why? Because I want to know you. Not the version of you that runs my office and manages my schedule and pretends we're just professional colleagues. The real you. Isabel felt something crack in her chest, some wall she'd been building for 5 years starting to crumble. I secretly love pineapple on pizza, she said quietly. I sing in the shower. Badly. I cry during commercials if they have dogs in them. I haven't been on a real date in 2 years, because every single man I met wasn't you, and I hated myself for it because you're my boss and this could never work, and I was right to run because we're sitting here and I can't breathe when you look at me like that. Like what? Like you see me. I do see you. Dominic reached across the table, took her hand in his. I've always seen you, Isabel. The question is whether you're brave enough to let me. Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. She watched his expression shift from soft to sharp in half a second. What is it? Singapore deal. The investor is pulling out. We fly out tonight. Tonight? He was already standing, signaling for the check. Pack for 5 days. I'll have a car pick you up at 7. Wait, I can't just fly to Singapore with you after everything that's happened. Dominic looked at her, really looked at her, and there was something in his eyes that made her stomach flip. Can't you? And that was how Isabel Ross found herself 6 hours later standing in her apartment, throwing clothes into a suitcase while Harper sat on her bed wearing an expression of pure delight. Let me see if I have this right, Harper said. You tried to quit, you hid behind a plant. He took you to breakfast, you confessed your feelings. And now you're flying to Singapore for 5 days. with the man you lost your virginity to 2 nights ago. When you say it like that, it sounds insane. It is insane. It's also the most romantic thing I've ever heard. Harper held up a black lace bra. Please tell me you're packing this. That's not appropriate work attire. Isabel, this trip is not about work, and we both know it. The Singapore deal is falling apart. We have meetings. At night? Harper's grin was wicked. Because last I checked, business meetings don't require le pour la lingerie. I bought that before the gala. Exactly. You've been planning this for weeks, whether you want to admit it or not. Heathcliff meowed from his perch on the dresser, sounding judgmental. Even your cat knows you're in denial, Harper observed. Isabel sat down on her bed, suddenly overwhelmed. What if I'm making a huge mistake? What if this ruins my career? What if we get to Singapore and realize this was just physical and there's nothing else there? Or, Harper said gently, what if you get to Singapore and realize this is exactly what you've wanted for 5 years, but were too scared to reach for? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be the person who has a relationship with her boss. I don't know how to risk everything for something that might not work out. Nobody knows how to do it, Izzy. That's why they call it falling. You just jump and hope someone catches you. And if they don't, then at least you jumped. Harper squeezed her hand. You've spent 5 years being careful and professional and completely safe. Maybe it's time to be a little reckless. Isabel's phone buzzed. Dominic Carr at 7. Don't forget your passport. Or that black dress from the gala. I have plans for it. Her pulse skyrocketed. Harper read the message over her shoulder and laughed. Oh, you're completely doomed. I know, Isabel whispered. I absolutely know. The company jet was obscene. Cream leather seats, polished wood, enough space to host a board meeting mid-flight. Isabel settled into her seat, trying not to think about the fact that she was about to spend 15 hours alone in the air with Dominic Vale. Nervous, he asked, watching her fidget with her seatbelt. I don't love flying. I remember, London trip last year, you left nail marks in the armrest. You noticed that? I notice everything about you. He took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist. Tell me about Heathcliff. What? Your cat. Distract yourself. I found him in an alley 3 years ago, soaking wet, half-starved, hissing at a pigeon twice his size. Sounds like someone else I know. Despite her nerves, Isabel smiled. He's dramatic and expensive and sleeps on my face at 5 in the morning when he wants breakfast. Charming. You'd hate him. On the contrary. Dominic's voice was soft. I admire tactical persistence. Very efficient. The plane began to move, and Isabel's breathing quickened. She hated this part. The loss of control. The metal tube hurtling into nothing. All of it. Dominic's grip tightened. Look at me. She did. His eyes were steady, calm, impossibly gray. Breathe with me. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. She followed his rhythm. In. Hold. Out. The plane lifted and her stomach dropped, but Dominic's hand stayed steady in hers. Better, he asked when they leveled out. Getting there. Good. His thumb traced her knuckles. Because we need to discuss expectations for Singapore. The investor presentation needs revision. I'll pull the latest projections and I meant expectations for us. Her heart stopped. There is no us. Isabel. His voice was patient, but firm. We're going to spend 5 days in close proximity. We're going to attend dinners together. Meetings. Possibly share a hotel suite, depending on availability. We are not sharing a suite. We'll see. Either way, I refuse to spend 5 days pretending this is purely professional when we both know it isn't. Dominic, please. Let me finish. He shifted closer, close enough that she could see the dark rim around his gray irises. I want you. I've wanted you for 5 years. That night wasn't curiosity or convenience. It was me finally admitting something I'd been denying because you worked for me, and I didn't want to abuse that power. Then why now? Because you tried to quit. His laugh was rough. Because watching you hide behind a palm tree made me realize I'd rather risk everything than lose you completely. So here's what's going to happen. This trip, we're not CEO and assistant. We're two people who happen to be extremely attracted to each other, exploring what that means. And when we get back, then you decide. Stay as my assistant. Accept the promotion to Director of Strategy I've had approved for 3 months. Wait, what promotion? Or leave if that's truly what you want. But you're not making that decision while you're running scared. His thumb brushed her cheek. Deal? Isabel should say no. Should protect herself. Should maintain every careful boundary she'd built over 5 years. Deal, she whispered. Dominic's smile was devastating. Excellent. Now, since we have 15 hours, let me tell you exactly what I'm planning to do to you when we land in Singapore. Dominic. What? You said honest expectations. You're impossible. And you love me for it. The words hung between them, too big and too true and too terrifying to acknowledge. So instead, Isabel closed her eyes, her hand still in his, and let herself imagine what it might feel like to stop running. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, she fell asleep on his shoulder, and for the first time in 2 days, she didn't dream about running away. Singapore hit them like a wall of heat and light. Marina Bay glittered below them as their car wound through downtown, skyscrapers reaching toward a sky that had gone purple with dusk. Isabel watched the city scroll past, jet-lagged and nervous and intensely aware of Dominic beside her. The hotel was the kind of place that had actual art in the lobby and staff members who remembered your name after hearing it once. The concierge smiled at Dominic like he was royalty. Welcome back, Mr. Vale. Your reservation is ready. Thank you. Dominic's voice had that easy authority that made people move faster. 2 rooms, corner suites if available. The concierge's smile flickered. Actually, sir, there's been a situation with the booking. What kind of situation? Isabel asked, already knowing this would be bad. The Formula One Grand Prix is this weekend. We're at full capacity. The reservation shows 2 rooms, but we only have 1 suite available. 1 suite. Isabel's voice came out flat, meaning 1 bedroom. The Orchid Suite is quite spacious. Separate sitting area, private terrace, 2 bathrooms. How many beds? Dominic asked. The concierge hesitated. 1, king-sized. Of course it is. Isabel closed her eyes. This is your doing. I assure you, I had nothing to do with the Formula One Grand Prix. You own 17% of this hotel chain. 15%. And that doesn't give me control over international sporting events. Dominic turned back to the concierge, who was trying very hard to look professional. We'll take the suite. We absolutely will not. Unless you'd prefer to sleep in the lobby? The concierge cleared her throat. We could arrange a rollaway bed for the sitting room. That won't be necessary, Dominic said smoothly. Miss Ross and I are perfectly capable of sharing a space like adults. Isabel glared at him, but she was too exhausted to argue. Fine, the suite. But you're taking the sofa. We'll discuss sleeping arrangements upstairs. 20 minutes later, Isabel stood in the Orchid Suite trying not to look at the bed. It dominated the room, king-sized and covered in white linens, and approximately 8,000 decorative pillows. The windows showed Singapore spreading out in every direction, lights on lights on lights. I'll take the sofa, she announced. Absolutely not. I'm smaller. It's logical. Isabel. Dominic set down his bag, moved toward her with that controlled grace that made her pulse stutter. Do you honestly think I'm going to let you sleep on a sofa while I take the bed? Let me. I don't recall needing your permission. No, you just spent 15 hours asleep on my shoulder, drooling slightly, I might add. I did not drool. You also mumbled about quarterly reports. His lips curved. It was extremely adorable. I don't mumble. You also don't snore, which is a pleasant discovery. He stepped closer. Want to know what else I discovered? Her throat went dry. What? You say my name in your sleep. Isabel wanted to disappear. I was probably having a nightmare. That's not what it sounded like. His fingers brushed her jaw, tilting her face up. Tell me to stop, Isabel. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll take the sofa and we'll never mention it again. She should absolutely tell him to stop. She'd maintain every professional boundary she'd ever built. She'd protect her career and her heart and her carefully controlled life. Instead, she grabbed his collar and kissed him. It wasn't like the first time, tentative and champagne soft. This was 2 days of tension and 15 hours of forced proximity and all the fear she'd been carrying since she woke up in his bed. This was surrender. Dominic made a sound low in his throat, his arms coming around her waist, lifting her against him. Isabel wrapped her legs around his hips and he walked them backward until her spine hit the wall. "Isabel," he breathed against her mouth. "Tell me you want this." "I want this." The words came out desperate. "I want you. I've wanted you so long I forgot how to want anything else." His eyes went dark. "Then take me." What followed was heat and desperation, and Dominic's hands everywhere, patient and demanding and impossibly thorough. He made her come apart twice before he even touched her properly, whispering her name like it was the only word he knew. When he finally moved inside her, Isabel forgot every reason she'd been running. "Look at me," he said, and she opened her eyes to find him watching her with devastating intensity. "I want to see you." She shattered around him, his name breaking from her lips, and felt him follow seconds later. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with Dominic's arms around her, Isabel waited for the panic to arrive. It didn't. "You're thinking too loud," Dominic murmured against her hair. "I'm processing." "Process tomorrow. Sleep now. We have meetings at 9. Which gives us 8 hours to sleep." He pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "And possibly other activities before breakfast." "Dominic." "What?" "I believe in efficiency." His voice was already getting drowsy. "Sleep, Isabel. I'll be here when you wake up." That was what terrified her. Not the physical intimacy or the professional complications, but the growing certainty that she wanted him there. Not just tonight, every night after. Morning came too fast. Isabel woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee, and Dominic, already dressed in a charcoal suit, typing on his phone at the terrace table. "Good morning," he said without looking up. "Coffee's on the nightstand. Breakfast arrives in 10 minutes. She sat up, clutching the sheet. "What time is it?" 7. "We have 2 hours before the investor meeting." 2 hours. Plenty of time to shower and review the presentation and have a complete emotional breakdown about sleeping with her boss again. Her phone buzzed. "Harper, status report. Are you alive? Has he proposed yet? Should I start planning your billionaire wedding?" "Your roommate," Dominic asked, finally looking at her. "She thinks she's hilarious." "She's not wrong about the wedding part." Isabel's head snapped up. "Excuse me? Too soon?" His expression was unreadable. "We've been officially together for approximately 18 hours. We've been together for 5 years. We just stopped pretending 2 days ago. That's not how this works." "Isn't it?" Dominic stood, crossed to the bed, sat on the edge beside her. "I've known you for 5 years, Isabel. I've watched you handle crisis after crisis with grace. I've seen you manage impossible clients and demanding deadlines. I've noticed every detail about you, from your coffee order to your reading habits, to the way you bite your lip when you're nervous. And 2 nights ago, I finally stopped pretending that was professional interest. So what is it then?" "Love." The word was simple, devastating. "I'm in love with you. I have been for longer than I care to admit." Isabel couldn't breathe. "You can't just say that." "Why not? It's true. Because people don't just fall in love with their assistants. People fall in love with the people they spend time with. The people who challenge them, who make them better." His hand cupped her face. "You make me better, Isabel. And if you try to run to Portland, Oregon, Antarctica, or anywhere else, I will follow you there and set up a new office just to keep you close." A laugh escaped her throat, half hysteria, half joy. "I love you too," she whispered. "I've loved you so long, I forgot what it felt like not to." "Then stop running." Dominic kissed her, soft and certain. "Just be here with me." "Okay," she breathed. "Okay." The investor meeting was supposed to be routine. Review the numbers, sign the contracts, celebrate over expensive lunch. But Mr. Tan, their lead investor, had other ideas. "The projections are impressive," he said, seated across from them in the hotel's private conference room, "but I need assurance of stability. Too many leadership changes create uncertainty." We have complete stability, Dominic said smoothly. Our executive team has been consistent for 5 years. Including Miss Ross? Mr. Tan's eyes moved to Isabel. I understand there may be changes in her position. Isabel's stomach dropped. How did he know about the almost resignation? Miss Ross has been promoted to Director of Strategy, Dominic said, without missing a beat, a position she's more than earned. If anything, we're strengthening our leadership structure. I see, Mr. Tan smiled slightly. And this promotion has nothing to do with personal entanglements? The room went silent. Isabel felt her face burn, but Dominic's expression didn't change. My personal life is exactly that, personal. However, I'll note that Miss Ross has been integral to every major deal we've closed in the past 5 years. Her promotion is based on merit, performance, and strategic value to the company. Anyone who suggests otherwise is welcome to review her employment record in detail. Mr. Tan studied them both for a long moment. Then he smiled, genuine this time. Good, I appreciate competence over politics. And from what I've seen, Miss Ross is exceptionally competent. Thank you, Isabel managed, finding her voice. The rest of the meeting passed in a blur of signatures and handshakes. By noon, they had a signed contract and a tentative celebration dinner scheduled. Back in the suite, Isabel collapsed on the sofa. That was, she started. Intense, Dominic finished, loosening his tie, but effective. We have the deal. He knew. Mr. Tan knew about us. Everyone knows about us. Dominic sat beside her. Singapore has excellent gossip networks. And you're not worried? About what? His hand found hers. You're brilliant at your job. I'm in love with you. Those facts don't contradict each other. People will say I slept my way into the promotion. Let them. Anyone who knows you knows that's absurd. And anyone who doesn't know you doesn't matter. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Dominic pulled her against his side. I want you. You want me. We work well together. The only complicated part is other people's opinions, which I stopped caring about somewhere around the 3rd billion. Despite everything, Isabel laughed. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. It was a photo, her and Dominic from the investor lunch, his hand on her lower back, both of them smiling. The caption read, called it. Office pool winner Harper Chen, you're all welcome. How did Harper get a photo from Singapore? Isabel demanded. Dominic checked his own phone. According to the company group chat, Mr. Tan's assistant knows someone in our IT department who's dating Harper's coworker. There's a company group chat? Several, apparently. The most active one is titled, When Will They Finally Admit It? I can never go back to New York. Excellent. We'll relocate to Singapore permanently, he kissed her temple. I hear the real estate market is lovely. You're impossible. And you love me anyway. Unfortunately. Fortunately. His arms tightened around her. Now we have 3 days left in Singapore. How do you want to spend them? Isabel looked at him, this impossible, brilliant man who'd somehow become everything she'd never let herself want. With you, she said, however that looks. Dominic's smile could have lit the entire city. 3 months felt like 3 minutes and 3 years all at once. Isabel stood in her new office, Director of Strategy etched on the glass door, and tried to remember what her life had looked like before Singapore, before Dominic, before everything changed. The office was twice the size of her old workspace. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Manhattan stretching out below, the city she'd lived in for 8 years suddenly looking different, brighter somehow, full of possibility instead of just deadlines and coffee runs. Stop alphabetizing the books, Harper called from the doorway. You're making the rest of us look neurotic. They're organized by subject matter, not alphabetically. Still nerdy. Harper crossed the room, perched on the edge of the desk. Big day? Board presentation at 2. Isabel straightened a picture frame. The photo from Singapore, her and Dominic at Marina Bay. His arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something Mr. Tan had said. Dominic thinks the expansion plan will pass. And after? Dinner. He said he has something important to discuss. Harper's eyes gleamed. Important like what Netflix show to watch, or important like here's a ring the size of Connecticut. Harper. I'm just saying, the office pool has evolved. We're now betting on proposal timing, and I have money on this month. There is not still a betting pool. Oh, sweetie, there are 3, Caring from accounting runs one, IT has another, and I'm pretty sure the janitorial staff started their own. Before Isabel could respond, her phone buzzed. Dominic, board meeting moved to 3. Gives us an hour for lunch. My office. Lock the door. Heat crept up her neck. Isabel, that's an abuse of executive privilege, Mr. Vale. Dominic, it's efficiency, Director Ross, unless you'd prefer to discuss quarterly projections in the conference room with 20 witnesses. Isabel, your office. 1 o'clock. Don't be late. Dominic, I'm never late for you. Harper read over her shoulder and cackled. You two are disgusting, and I love everything about it. We're professionals. Professional at eye contact that could melt steel, maybe. Harper stood, headed for the door. I'll see you at the presentation. Try to keep your hands to yourself during the meeting. We always do. The lie tasted sweet. The board meeting ran 90 minutes. Isabel presented the expansion strategy with calm precision, while Dominic fielded questions with that controlled authority that made venture capitalists nervous and excited in equal measure. Under the table, his hand found hers, thumb tracing circles on her wrist. It was the smallest touch, invisible to everyone else, but it steadied her through the hard questions, the skeptical looks, the moment when Richard Chen suggested maybe they should bring in an outside consultant to verify the numbers. Miss Ross built this model herself, Dominic said, his voice pleasant but sharp underneath. She's predicted our market movements with 93% accuracy over the past 5 years. If the board doesn't trust her analysis, I'd be curious to know which consultant you'd prefer. Richard had no answer. The vote passed 11-2. Afterward, walking back to their offices, Dominic's hand stayed on her lower back. The gesture had become automatic over 3 months. Public, but professional. A claim that didn't need words. You didn't have to defend me, Isabel said quietly. Yes, I did. His voice was steel underneath velvet. You're the best strategic mind in this building, and I won't let anyone diminish that. Even if people think you're biased? Especially then. Dominic stopped outside her office, turned her to face him. Let them think what they want. You earned this position. You've earned everything. The late afternoon sun caught his face, highlighting the gray in his eyes, the slight stubble on his jaw. 3 months, and he still made her heart stutter. I love you, she said quietly. I know, he smiled, that private smile reserved only for her. Now go home and pack something nice for dinner. I'm taking you somewhere special. How nice. The kind of nice that requires heels and the black dress I've been thinking about since Singapore. Her pulse jumped. That's a very specific request. I'm a very specific man. He kissed her forehead, professional enough for the office hallway, but intimate enough to make her skin warm. Car picks you up at 7. Where are we going? You'll see. 6 hours later, Isabel sat in the back of Dominic's car, the city sliding past in streaks of light and shadow. She wore the black dress, the one from the opera gala that started everything. Her hair was down, loose waves past her shoulders, heels that made her legs look longer than they were. Dominic sat beside her in a navy suit, his hand resting on her knee, and he wouldn't stop smiling. What? She asked. Nothing. You look beautiful. You've seen me in this dress before. I know. His thumb traced her kneecap. I'm remembering the last time. Heat pooled low in her stomach. The gala was months ago. I wasn't talking about the gala. Ah, Singapore. The night you stopped running. The night you finally let me love you properly. Dominic. What? His eyes were dark, amused, devastatingly focused. I'm not allowed to remember how you looked when I peeled this dress off you, how you trembled when I kissed your collarbone, how you said my name when I... The car stopped. Isabel looked out the window, and her breath caught. The Jardin Blanc, the restaurant where he'd taken her the morning after she tried to resign, where everything shifted from running to staying. Nostalgic, she asked, her voice unsteady. Strategic, Dominic helped her out of the car, his hand finding the small of her back again. This is where you first told me you loved me. I told you that in Singapore. You said it in your sleep on the plane, you confirmed it in Singapore, but you first admitted it here, over coffee and croissants, when you thought I wasn't listening. Isabel's heart stopped. You heard that? I hear everything about you. He guided her inside, past the host, who greeted them by name, to their usual table by the windows. The city sparkled below them, Manhattan dressed in lights and ambition. They ordered. Wine arrived, the same vintage from the gala. Dominic was unusually quiet, his fingers drumming against the table, a nervous tell she'd learned to recognize. "You're fidgeting," she observed. "I don't fidget." "Your fingers have tapped the table 16 times in the last minute." "Have they?" He stilled his hand, took a breath. "Isabel." "Yes?" "Do you remember what you said to me the morning after Singapore, when we were having breakfast on the terrace?" "I said a lot of things." "You said being with me felt like the first time you'd stopped running from yourself." His voice went soft. "You said you'd spent your whole life being careful and controlled and completely safe, and that I made you want to be reckless." "I remember." "Good." Dominic stood up. Then he dropped to one knee. Isabel's entire world tilted sideways. The restaurant went quiet. Or maybe that was just her heartbeat drowning out everything else. Dominic pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket, opened it to reveal a ring that caught the light like trapped fire. "Isabel Marie Ross." His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "You spent 5 years organizing my life and challenging every decision I make and making me want to be better than I am. You've made me laugh when I forgot how. You've made me believe in things I'd stopped believing in. You've made me understand that love isn't a weakness or a distraction. It's the thing that makes everything else matter." Tears blurred her vision. "I don't want a director of strategy or an executive assistant or a business partner." He looked up at her and his eyes were storm gray and absolutely certain. "I want you. Every morning when you steal my coffee. Every night when you fall asleep reading on the couch. Every moment in between when you make the world make sense." A tear escaped, traced down her cheek. "I want your judgmental cat and your romance novels and your lists that organize everything except feelings. I want your stress baking and your terrible singing in the shower and the way you scrunch your nose when you're trying not to laugh." Dominic's voice cracked slightly. "I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you were right to stop running, that I'm worth the risk." He took a breath. "Marry me, Isabel. Not because it makes professional sense or because we work well together. Marry me because I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anything. Marry me and let me spend every day showing you that choosing me was the best decision you ever made." The restaurant was completely silent, waiting. Isabel slid out of her chair, dropped to her knees in front of him, framed his face in her hands. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, you, impossible, brilliant, absolutely perfect man. Yes to everything. Yes to forever. Just yes." Dominic kissed her then, right there on the floor of Les Jardins Blancs, while the entire restaurant erupted in applause, and camera phones captured the moment, and somewhere Harper Chen was probably collecting her winnings. When they broke apart, Dominic slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, because of course it did. He'd probably measured her finger while she slept, cataloged every detail, planned this moment with the same precision he used for billion-dollar mergers. "I love you," she said against his mouth. "I love you too." He stood, pulled her up with him. "Even when you tried to resign after one night with the Ruthless Billionaire CEO." Isabel laughed, kissing him again. "Best mistake I ever made." "Second best," Dominic corrected, his forehead against hers. The best was saying yes. The drive home was a blur of champagne-warm happiness, and Dominic's hand in hers and the ring-catching streetlight. They'd barely made it through the door of his penthouse, their penthouse now, before his phone started buzzing. "Don't answer it," Isabel said, already pulling him toward the bedroom. "It might be important." "More important than this?" She kissed him, deep and certain, and felt him surrender. His phone kept buzzing. Eventually he pulled it out, glanced at the screen, started laughing. "What?" "Harper has started a new betting pool." He showed her the message. "How long until baby news?" Isabel groaned. "I'm going to kill her." "She's strategic." "I respect that." Dominic set his phone aside, pulled Isabel against him. "Though I should mention, I'm not opposed to the timeline she's suggesting." "Dominic." "What?" His hands found her waist. "We should probably practice first. Make sure we get it right." "That's not how biology works." "Humor me." He kissed her neck, her jaw, the corner of her mouth. I'm a perfectionist. I believe in thorough preparation. You're impossible. And you're mine. His voice went serious, tender. Forever, Isabel. You and me and whatever comes next. She looked at him, this man who'd waited 5 years, who'd refused to let her run, who'd loved her through every wall she'd built and every fear she'd carried. Forever, she agreed, starting right now. What followed was heat and laughter and the kind of intimacy that came from truly knowing someone. Dominic took his time, patient and demanding and impossibly thorough, making her fall apart twice before he'd even undressed completely. I love watching you like this, he murmured against her skin, completely undone. No walls, just you. Just us, she corrected, pulling him closer. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with the city glittering beyond the windows, Isabel traced the line of his jaw, memorizing details she already knew by heart. What are you thinking? Dominic asked. That I almost ran, that I almost threw this away because I was scared. But you didn't. Because you wouldn't let me, she smiled. You're very persistent. Only when it matters. He caught her hand, kissed her palm. You matter, Isabel. You've always mattered. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She grabbed it, expecting Harper, but found something else entirely. It was a photo. Her and Dominic from the restaurant, both on their knees, his hands on her face, the ring-catching light. Below it, a caption from the company group chat, the one she'd finally been added to after Singapore. Karen from accounting, call it Proposal at Le Jardin Blanc. I'll win all 3 pools. Thank you for your contributions to my retirement fund. Below that, dozens of messages. Congratulations. About time. We've been shipping this for 5 years. Someone calculate the overtime they've logged together. And then Harper, Isabel Marie Ross, you better call me right now, or I'm releasing all the karaoke footage, including the Celine Dion incident. Dominic read over her shoulder, laughing. Your friends are intense. Our friends, she corrected. You're stuck with them now. I'm stuck with you. He pulled her closer. Everything else is just bonus. 2 weeks later, Isabel sat in Dominic's office, reviewing contracts while he handled a conference call with London. It was early, barely 7. The kind of quiet morning they'd claimed as theirs before the building filled with people and demands. Her ring caught the light every time she moved her hand. She still wasn't used to it, the weight and promise of it. The physical proof that this was real, permanent, chosen. You're staring at your hand again, Dominic observed, phone muted. I'm admiring your taste in jewelry. My taste in everything. He unmuted, handled a question about market projections, muted again. Lunch today? I have a meeting with the Singapore team at 1. Dinner then. My place. Our place, she corrected. Our place. His smile was private, warm. I'll cook. You don't cook. I'll order food and pretend I cooked. Much better plan. The morning passed in comfortable rhythm. Contracts and coffee and the easy partnership they'd built over 5 years, now acknowledged and celebrated instead of hidden. Around 10, Harper appeared in the doorway. Emergency, she announced. What kind of emergency? The kind where your mother is downstairs, demanding to meet her future son-in-law, and I've been stalling her with coffee and small talk about the weather for 20 minutes. Isabel's stomach dropped. My mother is here? Surprise visit, very enthusiastic, possibly armed with wedding magazines. Oh God. Isabel looked at Dominic. I'm so sorry. I told her we'd visit next month. I didn't think she'd just show up. It's fine. Dominic was already standing, adjusting his tie. I should meet her eventually. She's intense. I've negotiated with heads of state. I think I can handle your mother. You say that now. 10 minutes later, Isabel watched her mother, Patricia Ross, shake Dominic's hand with the kind of grip that suggested she was evaluating bone structure and genetic viability simultaneously. Mr. Vale, her mother said, I've heard so much about you. All good things, I hope. My daughter tried to resign rather than admit she had feelings for you, so I'd say the stories have been mixed. Patricia settled into the chair across from Dominic's desk like she owned it. But the ring is lovely, so I'm willing to overlook the professional chaos. Mom. What? I'm being supportive. Patricia turned back to Dominic. I assume you have a plan for the wedding? Timeline? Venue preferences? We've been engaged for 2 weeks. Exactly. Time is wasting. Patricia pulled out her phone. I've already contacted 3 venues and a caterer. Spring wedding or fall? Mom, Isabel interjected, we haven't discussed any of this yet. Well, you should. Patricia's eyes softened slightly. I know this happened fast, sweetheart, but I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at him. And I've certainly never seen you take a risk this big. Is that approval? It's acknowledgement that you finally stopped being so careful all the time, her mother smiled. Also, his company stock is very impressive. Mom! What? I'm practical. Dominic was trying very hard not to laugh. I appreciate your directness, Mrs. Ross. Call me Patricia. We're family now. She stood. I'll let you get back to work. But Isabel, dinner this weekend. Both of you. I'm making pot roast. After she left, Isabel collapsed into a chair. I'm so sorry. Don't be. Dominic sat on the edge of his desk. She's protective. I respect that. She ambushed you with wedding planning. I've survived hostile takeovers. I think I can handle centerpiece selection. You say that now. Wait until she starts asking about grandchildren. Is she wrong to ask? Isabel looked up, found him watching her with that expression that meant he was thinking long-term, planning futures, building something permanent. We just got engaged, she said quietly. I know, but when I imagine the future, I see everything. You, marriage, a house that's actually a home. Maybe kids eventually. All of it. His voice went soft. Is that terrifying? Yes, she admitted, but also maybe the best kind of terrifying. He pulled her up, into his arms. We don't have to decide everything today. Good, because your mother is already planning the wedding, and I think Harper started a baby pool, and my brain can only handle so much at once. Then let's just handle this. Dominic kissed her, slow and certain. You and me, everything else can wait. The weekend arrived with autumn rain and the smell of Patricia's pot roast. Isabel and Dominic drove to her childhood home in Westchester, Heathcliff meowing indignantly from his carrier in the back seat. Your cat hates me, Dominic observed. He hates everyone. It's his personality. Wonderful. I'm marrying into a family of judgmental mammals. You love it. I love you. The cat I'm still negotiating with. Patricia's house was exactly as Isabel remembered. Warm and cluttered and full of photos documenting every awkward stage of her childhood. Dominic studied them with poorly concealed amusement. Is that you with braces and a science fair medal? We don't discuss middle school. You were adorable. I was a disaster. You were brilliant. He kissed her temple. Some things never change. Dinner was pot roast and interrogation disguised as polite conversation. Patricia asked about Dominic's intentions, his 5-year plan, his thoughts on work-life balance, and whether he planned to make her daughter happy. I plan to spend every day trying, Dominic said simply. Whether I succeed is up to Isabel. Good answer, Patricia said. You can stay. After dinner, Isabel found her mother in the kitchen, washing dishes despite protests. He's good for you, Patricia said quietly. I wasn't sure at first. Boss and assistant, all that power dynamic concern. But the way he looks at you, like you hung the moon. He makes me want to be braver. Then he's perfect. Her mother's hands stilled in the soapy water. Your father would have liked him. Isabel's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. He would have appreciated someone who challenges you, who doesn't let you hide. She turned, pulled Isabel into a hug. I'm happy for you, sweetheart, truly. Thanks, Mom. Now, when do I get grandchildren? Isabel groaned. 3 months became 6. Fall turned to winter, the city transforming into something cold and bright and beautiful. Isabel moved the last of her things into the penthouse, Heathcliff claiming the entire master bedroom as his territory within hours. He's asserting dominance, Dominic observed, watching the cats sprawl across their bed. He's establishing boundaries. He's a tyrant. You love him. I tolerate him, for you. But late at night, Isabel would wake to find Dominic absently scratching Heathcliff's ears while reading merger documents, and she'd know the truth. He loved everything that came with her, even the judgmental cat. Work continued its relentless pace. Board meetings and investor calls and the constant pressure of building something bigger. But now there were mornings in bed, coffee shared in comfortable silence, late nights where they'd order takeout and watch terrible movies and forget about quarterly projections. The wedding planning started slowly, then accelerated. Patricia and Harper formed an alliance that was frankly terrifying. Venue options appeared, guest lists expanded. Isabel found herself choosing between centerpieces at midnight, Dominic offering opinions that were surprisingly detailed. "You have thoughts about hydrangeas," she observed. "I have thoughts about everything. Apparently, I want this to be perfect for you." His hand found hers. "Whatever you want, we'll make it happen. I want you. Everything else is just decoration. Then you already have everything that matters." They set a date. Spring. April specifically, when the city would be caught between winter and warmth. Everything starting to bloom. 6 months away. Time enough to plan properly, but soon enough that the waiting wouldn't kill them. Harper insisted on being maid of honor, obviously. Dominic's sister Charlotte flew in from London to help plan, bringing British efficiency and a wicked sense of humor. The office betting pools evolved into a full-scale wedding countdown. "This is insane," Isabel said one morning, reviewing the guest list that had somehow grown to 200 people. "This is love." Dominic pulled her into his lap. 200 people who care about us wanting to celebrate. I don't even know half these people. But they know us, the company, what we've built. He kissed her neck. Let them celebrate. We'll be too busy being married to notice. The months passed in a blur of fittings and cake tastings and increasingly elaborate plans. Through it all, Dominic stayed steady. Patient when she stressed about seating charts, enthusiastic about flower options. Completely unbothered by the chaos that apparently accompanied planning a wedding when you were engaged to a billionaire. "You're suspiciously calm about all this," Isabel observed one evening, surrounded by invitation samples. "I'm marrying you. Everything else is just details." "These details cost more than my first car." "Our first car," he corrected, "and worth every penny if it means you're happy." She looked at him, this man who'd waited 5 years, who'd refused to let her run, who was now planning a wedding with the same focus he brought to board meetings. "I love you," she said. "I know," he pulled her close. "Now pick the invitation so we can move on to the truly important decision." "Which is?" "Honeymoon location. I'm thinking Maldives. 2 weeks. No phones, just us." "Sold." "That easy?" "That easy." April arrived with cherry blossoms and warm rain, and the kind of anticipation that made Isabel's hands shake. The night before the wedding, Harper insisted on a girls' night at Isabel's old apartment, the one she'd kept as a safety net, even though she hadn't slept there in months. "Last night of freedom," Harper announced, pouring wine. "I'm already living with him. Last night before it's legal and permanent and you can't hide behind a palm tree anymore. I hid behind a palm tree one time. And it's immortalized in company legend forever." Harper raised her glass. "To Isabel Ross, who tried to quit after one night with the Ruthless Billionaire CEO and ended up getting a ring, a promotion, and a cat who finally has the penthouse he deserves. To terrible decisions that turn out perfect," Isabel countered. They drank, talked about everything and nothing. Memories of 5 years ago, when Isabel first started at Vail Industries. Terrified and determined. The slow build of feelings she'd tried to ignore. The gala that changed everything. "Do you ever regret it?" Harper asked quietly, "taking the risk?" "Never. Not once. Even when it was scary?" "Especially then." Isabel looked at her ring, the physical proof of choosing love over fear. The scary parts are what made it real. The wedding was perfect. Spring sunshine and cherry blossoms and 200 people gathered to watch Isabel Ross walk down an aisle toward Dominic Vail, who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Her dress was simple, elegant, the kind of thing you could move in. Dominic's suit was navy, perfectly tailored, his eyes storm gray and absolutely certain when she reached him. The ceremony was short, traditional vows with personal additions. Dominic promised to love her through every list and every panic and every moment of doubt. Isabel promised to stop running, to choose him every day, to build something permanent. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Dominic pulled her close and kissed her like they were the only 2 people on earth. The reception was a blur of champagne and dancing and speeches that made her cry. Patricia gave a toast about watching her daughter finally stop being so careful. Charlotte told embarrassing stories about Dominic's past relationships that explained why he'd been single for so long. Harper's speech was short and perfect. To Isabel and Dominic, who proved that sometimes the best love stories start with hiding behind office plants and escalate to international business trips and proposals in French restaurants. May you always be this ridiculous and this happy. Late in the evening, Isabel and Dominic snuck away to a balcony, needing a moment of quiet in the chaos. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Vale?" Dominic asked, pulling her close. "Mrs. Vale." She tested the name. "It sounds strange." "You'll get used to it." "Will I?" "You'd better. I'm not letting you go now." His arms tightened around her. "This is forever, Isabel." "Forever," she agreed, and meant it with every cell in her body. Below them, the party continued. Music and laughter, and 200 people celebrating a love story that started with fear and ended with choosing courage. Above them, stars appeared in a sky going dark, the city spreading out in every direction. "I used to think love was a risk I couldn't afford," Isabel said quietly. "Something that would derail my career, or complicate my life, or make me vulnerable. And now I know it's the only risk that ever really mattered." She turned in his arms, looked up at him. "You were worth every scary moment, every wall I had to break down, every fear I had to face." Dominic kissed her, soft and certain. "Best decision you ever made?" "Second best," she corrected. "The best was saying yes." Somewhere inside, Harper was probably starting a new betting pool about baby news or anniversary trips or whatever came next. The company group chat was definitely documenting every moment. Karen from accounting was probably calculating the cost per guest and comparing it to historical wedding data. But out here, under spring stars with her husband's arms around her, Isabel didn't care about any of it. She'd tried to quit after one night with the Ruthless Billionaire CEO. What he did next changed everything. He loved her, completely, patiently, permanently. And she loved him back. The end of one story, the beginning of everything else. Thank you for following Isabel and Dominic's journey from professional distance to perfect partnership, from hiding behind palm trees to building a life together. If this story made your heart race or reminded you that love is worth the risk, drop a comment and let me know your favorite moment. Was it the palm tree scene, the Singapore hotel, the proposal? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove sometimes the best things in life start with taking a chance on something terrifying. Until next time, remember that the right person won't let you run, they'll give you a reason to stay. Keep choosing courage, keep choosing love,